Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Cam Ellis. I'm the service manager here at Spotter Global, and I'm here with Logan Harris. He's the president and the founder of Spotter Global.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for joining this webinar regarding NetworkedIO 6.0, the next generation. If you have any questions while we're going through this conversation, please feel free to post them in the Q&A section, or you can even put them in the chat if that's more helpful for you. And we will get to those as we go.
Yeah, we're trying to make this a conversation and less of a presentation, but more of conversation, which requires, of course, some questions to be asked on your part. So don't hesitate as it comes up to put something in there. We'll try to get to it straight away.
Thanks, Logan. What makes NetworkedIO 6 unique?
Well, so let's get right into it. The main point, you're probably all familiar with video AI. And you may have heard about radar AI. So what we're talking about here is just using the technology of neural nets and machine learning to analyze the data coming from these different sensors, whether it's from radar or from video. Spotter developed the first radar AI model back in 2019 that were released in the first version of NetworkedIO 5.0. With that radar AI, it's able to classify targets based off of radar metadata. And that works, quite well. But at the same time, there are some circumstances where it's more difficult for the radar AI to properly classify whether the target is, say, a deer or a human. From the radar's perspective, they're fairly similar. They're about the same size. They have the same reflectivity. They move about the same, speed. Of course, when a deer gets running, that's a little bit different. Right. But there are some circumstances where the radar AI has difficulty classifying. Now, that's where complementary technology, video AI, can come in and be used. And so what NetworkedIO does is it brings the power of radar AI and video AI for dual classification into a single system. That's what is really unique about NetworkedIO. And so let's get into it. I hope you can. I'm going to share my screen here so I can show you a few things. There we go. So now you should be able to see my screen here. So I had up before, while people were joining, I had up a live system. We'll go back through it. We're going to explore it. This isn't going to be just a slide deck. I did want to make a few points with regards to how radar and video AI working together can produce high probability of alarming on targets of interest while reducing false alarms.
Which everybody wants.
Yes.
To reduce false alarms and increase
probability of alarming.
Yep. Targets of interest alarming.
Yes. Yeah. So we don't want false negatives. And of course, we don't want false positives. We don't want false anything. Except for the drone ID sensor that has 0 false alarms, all other systems have some sort of false alarming. And that's the bane of all security systems. You don't like it when, alarms go off and it's not a target of interest. So with the radar AI and the video AI, what we can do is we have 2 different tool sets that we can now apply to what we call filter groups or filtering, and where we can say, all right, let's see, I want to see something, or I only want to pay attention to something that meets both classes. And that's what I'm showing here, is that simultaneously inside of NetworkedIO, and NetworkedIO, for those who are not somewhat familiar, is the site level sensor management system. So think of it as kind of like the VMS layer of a system, except for sensors. And in this case, one of the sensors is video cameras.
Right.
So NetworkedIO brings in radar data and then analyze that radar data and says, okay, I think this is a person. So the sensor AI class, as you can see down here, says it's 25% certain that it's seen as a person. Now it's also seeing other things in there, but the radar focuses on what moves. So we filter out.
Okay, so in this snapshot here, you've got trucks in the background that could be stationary.
Yes.
So some stationary or some immobile objects in the background that it's still classifying, because if they were moving, they would be targets of interest in certain zones.
Correct.
But in here, from the looks of it, it looks like this gentleman is walking. And so that's what the radar is picking up. And so it's classifying that person, but also other objects that it has been trained to classify.
Exactly.
Okay.
In fact, let's go over to, sorry, let's go to a live system here. Sorry. Escape out of the presentation here. And this will help a lot. So this is a live system that's going over a wireless radio link from our office over to this park that's nearby. And what the radar covers this very large area. You can see kind of this blue ellipse here. That's one C40 radar that's covering this entire area. And then the radar has this wide area coverage and says, okay, this is where things are moving. Then it sends the positional data to the NetworkedIO, and then the NetworkedIO interprets that and says, okay, it's an area of interest. So I've got these alarm zones that I have set up here, where I say, okay, this is an area where I care about. So I'm going to track things in that area, and I'm going to cue my camera. So I'm going to point the camera just to the targets that I want. And then you'll see right there, it just changed it from initially saw a vehicle in the background, but then as soon as it saw a person and recognized the video AI, then recognized that it was a person, it reclassified that track as a person.
Okay, so we did see the vehicle, and so we see the video AI classifying the vehicle in the background. We saw a vehicle drive past, but the radar didn't pick up the vehicle
That's correct.
On that road.
Yes, that's because that's not an area of interest, and so we put what we call an ignore zone out in that area, where I can show you this. Say, here's my my ignore zone, where I do not want to see that area. So right here, you can see that I just have this alarm zone in this area. Okay. So things in this area out here, I filtered those out with a SNR filter. So what is basically an exclusion zone. So I've said these busy roads, I just don't want to see it.
Okay.
And so because the radar can measure exact position, I can filter all of that out.
Nice.
So that's why we've got right here. So the video AI, and then this is, typical for video AI, it's going to analyze everything that's in the video frame. It doesn't really know where things are relative to the position. So that's combined. We can say, okay, yeah, I don't want to be alarming on that video here. I only want to be looking at things in my area of interest.
And so on this side, the area of interest is that red alarm area that looks like people don't usually walk on, because that's the grass, so they walk on the track. So if there are people walking across it, then it would alarm.
That is correct. Okay. And I'll show you some examples in historical mode, or if we have someone walk over in that area. And we can always probably have somebody from our office go over there and walk across that to show it in live. So this area out here, this kind of lighter blue, that area is, we said, we care about things in that area. We're going to track things in that area. We're going to cue the camera, but we're not going to alarm on it. Okay. Because that's where people are supposed to be. Now, this would be, similar to, you've got a facility next to a big, busy road or a sidewalk. You don't want to alarm on those, but you would like to see people going by as long as that doesn't get the priority. And then we have our alarm area here in the middle, and this is where we want to pay attention. So if something comes through there, then we tag it with a classification of unknown person using these type of filter rules, whether it's a person or a vehicle, then we'll classify it. And we can also do that by saying where we have this one right here using radar AI, or we can do a combination of radar and video AI. So I can go in here and say, okay, this is a probable alarm filter. I want to see if a vehicle goes in there. I can check this. I'm going on this real fast, so
Yeah.
we'll come back to it.
Okay.
So I can see here in my filtering here for my alarms, and say, okay, for this one, which is a probable vehicle alarm filter, I can check it in here and it says, okay, I have a video AI class of 65% confidence or higher, and duration of greater than 6 seconds, speed and displacement. And then this combined allows me to say, okay, if this occurs in this space, then I'll alarm.
And then, so by adjusting that 60% confidence interval for the vehicle AI class, why would you adjust it up, or why would you adjust it down, or why would you keep it where it is?
That would be primarily to see if my confidence level is too low, then I'm more likely to have false positives, false alarms.
Okay.
And so I can look at the data over time in history and say, okay, well, let's go look over a period of time and see what happens in that area. And I can say, well, here's some people right here in this area. Now I want to take a look and I want to alarm on that. That was a person here. And I can say, all right, it was classified as a video AI class. It hit a max. And that's what these numbers right here is. It tells me the low, the average, and the max class. So I want to balance that. I want to say, okay, if I have a person, a real person in that location, I want to alarm, but not put it too low, so I alarm on things that aren't necessarily people. Because like all technologies, it's not 100% accurate. And so it's a matter of weighing the different options and balancing out that threshold where you keep a probability of alarming of higher than 90% while keeping your false alarms as low as possible.
Okay. And that's how you would optimize. You would look at historical data over the last week or over the last 4 days or 2 weeks or whatever.
And see targets of interest like this one and say, okay, yeah, I need to put my video AI class. I want to catch this particular person. So I want to say my probable person alarm is right there at 61%. I want to drop that down to 60%.
So if they were maybe a little farther away in the camera, but still in that zone, and the confidence says it's only 60, now it will still be included in that. So you're able to
Correct.
Bring things in.
Yes. And that's where the power of having the both options, because in some places and so some locations, depending on your lighting, depending on how much, weather you have, like fog or rain.
How good my camera lens is.
Yeah, how much dirt you have on your camera lens. You may want to rely more on the radar AI versus the video AI. And I can give you an example of that if we look over, let's just look over the nighttime here. And it looks like we got some questions here. Oh, no. Somebody added a AI chat bot thing.
AI is welcome in here.
Yeah, I guess we're okay with AI here. So let's just look over, late at night, from 10 o'clock to, let's say, let's look at 5 a.m. here. Okay, so here's what happened between 10 o'clock and 5:30 a.m. at this park. And we can see that we've had some tracks, of course, that were kind of out in the open area, and some of those, as you can see here, like this one, the lighting on this particular camera is having some difficulties, but it was able to pick up like these headlights and classify that as a vehicle. And so you can see, yep, they got that as a vehicle. So let's select this one right here, because this is probably a good this is a good explanation of where video AI works and where it doesn't work.
Okay. Yeah.
This one right here is we had something go through there. The radar detected it, queued onto it. It says the sensor AI class was 68%.
For person.
For person, yeah, 68% confident it was a person. The video AI said, hit a maximum of 70%. So if we look through this here, you can see it was kind of picking up the background, vehicles and stuff in the background there. But it wasn't able to see because the lighting wasn't good enough, for that camera. It wasn't able to see that. So in that case, where you don't have good lighting or you have fog, that's where the radar AI, you can use both and say, okay, during the day, use the video camera, the video AI as your primary classification technique. And at night, you can do another schedule and use that to classify using radar AI at nighttime.
So if say I have a like a more expensive camera that also has thermal imaging. So when it is nighttime, instead of using my optical lens, I use the thermal lens, the dedicated lens for that.
Oh, absolutely.
What would, in this type of scenario, is that helpful at all?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So here's some examples of where you can. That's one of the important things about NetworkedIO 6.0 is that it's not tied to a particular camera type. Any of the cameras that NetworkedIO supports are able to bring anything that brings in the video feed into NetworkedIO can be analyzed. We have a built-in video AI model that we've developed, and we're continuously updating. So it's not something that you can build on your machine, but rather it has to be, we have to take data or images from the field and then incorporate it, re-annotate it, and then retrain the model. But with that allows us, because we build our own models, that allows us to customize it for the circumstances in which it's put in. Like we have a lot of critical infrastructure or military bases that use our equipment. And those types of environments are quite different than, say, normal usage in an office, environment.
Right. Or in a downtown environment where there's buildings, traffic, people. That's not the same, maybe, viewpoint from a camera or background or environment as we would have in at a fence line or in a critical infrastructure like a substation.
Exactly. And so we have a team of people who are working just specifically to build video AI models that are somewhat, I would say, customized to the type of situations, environments where you use a radar system, wide open environments or big areas, and places like substations and power plants and data centers. So we've got that type of data, including the thermal images, because quite a few of our clients do use thermal cameras. And there isn't a lot of video AI models that you can go off the shelf that use thermal. So we've built our own.
Okay. That's very helpful for this. If I was if I had NIO 6.0 and I'm noticing that I have maybe an environment that is a little bit different than maybe what is typically already supported, how would I get it to perform how I would want?
So if you saw something where it wasn't properly being classified, either a false negative, you missed it,
Right.
or there was a false positive, meaning it got classified as something that it wasn't supposed to, then what we would ask you to do is you can save these snapshots from NetworkedIO. You can download those, and I'll get back into it here in a second. Where you can download those snapshots, send it to us, to our service manager or one of his team, and say, here's the images. Please incorporate this into our model, and we would add those to our model, and then on the next release, we would have an updated model using those images.
Okay, so the next like minor release, like 6.1 or okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we've talked about false alarm mitigation. I want to show you another example. This one right here shows you kind of like this is a real example about how using video AI in combination with the radar AI can reduce the number of possibilities of alarming. And this is an office environment with a parking lot, trees. It's around our building here. And on this side, right here on the left, if we're using just the basic people filter, we can see that there's 144 tracks that pass that filter. Then if we use the video AI filter on this with a person percentage above 50%, that reduced it down to 81 tracks. Now, some of these tracks are being generated off of sprinklers. That's something the radar picks up and tracks. I'm going to go over to the live system and show you what that looks like. So this right here is our headquarters. We've got a couple of radars around it with some cameras, and it's watching over this area. We've got a driveway right here, kind of on the east side, parking lot, and then this kind of grassy area here and the grassy area around on the front. So at night, or usually at night, depending on when the sprinklers are set, then the radar picks up these tracks, and it because the sprinklers are moving and the radar picks up stuff that moves, and so it's tracking that. So how do you deal with that? There's a couple different ways. One is you can put in these low level, what we call signal to noise ratio filter zones that filter out based off of how bright they are. You can, take those out that way. In this case, we're going to use the video AI to do that. As you can see here, for these types of tracks over here in the left column, you can see the data about this track. It lasted 34 seconds. It only moved the displacement, relative to the radar, only changed 9 meters. So it didn't go very far in 34 seconds.
Right.
So that's unique. The SNR, the brightness was at 10. And now we get to the radar AI. The radar AI said, okay, it's 24% a person. So low probability that it's a person. And the video AI was 30%. So what would you say then? How would you filter these out?
So I would filter them out using keeping my confidence low for the video AI class for vehicle. So 30%. So it stayed around 30%, looks like, the whole time.
So let me show you
Okay.
what I did.
Okay.
What I did to filter these out is, first of all, I'm only using ground radars, a schedule. So I have a schedule. Sorry, I don't want to do that. I have a schedule that says, okay, I'm only looking to alarm between 7 a.m. Well, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
7 p.m.
So 7 p.m. So I'm
Yeah.
saying not in, this is the normal work hours. So
Okay.
it's a little bit reversed logic
Yeah,
there.
outside of this.
Yes. Then you've got so I set a video AI class because I don't want to alarm on animals in this area, in this lawn area. I don't want to alarm on animals. I don't want to alarm on vehicles because vehicles aren't in this area, on this lawn area. And I put a displacement of greater than 7 seconds and duration of 4 seconds. Now with that, I can say, okay, let's apply that filter here and let's turn off this one and this one here. Say, okay, so these are the ones. So we took down quite a few of these right here. Now what we're doing when we look in history, so these right here, if we're looking history, now they're saying, okay, that was a vehicle class of 68%. So let me turn off the vehicle classification and they're gone.
So you have one filter on. That
I've
is
got
the
one filter on.
after hours people alarm.
Yep.
So this will show people in this zone after 7 p.m. before 7 a.m.
Correct.
any day of the week.
Correct.
Okay.
So that way I eliminated all my false alarms by looking at what their classifications are, increasing the video AI classification to a confidence level. Now, if I apply that to, let's say, looking during the day, so let's just look at video AI for people, and let's put it at 70% confidence. Now when you apply this to historical, it does use the averages. So sometimes you have to drop that to see exactly what it has, because when it does the classification, you just have to hit that one classification, the max only has to happen one time, and then it will be true and trigger.
So we do have a question about analog cameras.
Yes.
The feed that's coming in, does it have to be digital? Can it be
Yes,
signal?
it does have to be, and that's kind of good to talk about what type of formats that this supports. It does have to be digitized. So you have to take it. So if you have an analog camera, you can go to an analog to digital converter, like an Axis encoder is quite popular, and turn it into a digital video stream. It does support both MJPEG as well as H.264 compression formats. So if your camera supports those, then we can bring the feed in and analyze it.
So if you have an old legacy camera, the system that you're currently using, you could put this on top of it with an encoder if it's required. But
yes,
if it brings in an RTSP feed stream that's encoded in MJPEG or H.264, it's ready to rock.
yes. So pretty much, most modern systems now, of course, there's legacy. You would have to do the encoder, but yes.
But you wouldn't necessarily have to get a brand new camera.
No, no. That's the one of the good thing about this is it can use your existing infrastructure. Now the quality, and that's one thing I'll point out here. In terms of using the camera, there are some recommended settings about that. Depending on the load on the system, it is the less load if you use MJPEG, a lower frame rate. We have seen that using 4K frame rate, a 4K resolution does have a significant load, and it actually reduces the quality of the classification of the video AI classification. So it's recommended if you do have a 4K camera, sure, you can, send that off. If you want high resolution, you can still pipe that over to your VMS system for recording. But for analysis, we recommend to step it down to 1080p, or in this case, like a 1240 by 1024, 3 to 10 frames per second. That gives you the optimal performance and doesn't load down the processor, so you can handle more. Video simultaneous video frames.
Okay. So this is for one camera. What if my site has two cameras or three cameras? Just if I have these all in the same settings, then everything will still function?
Yes, there is, and as we're talking about, load and, support, I think it's a good thing to address is what is NetworkedIO compatible with. The first release of NIO 6.0, which is coming out this month, will be supported on new video AI hardware. That's what I'm showing here, the NeoDin VAI 3, 5, and 10. This is hardware that has built-in NVIDIA GPUs that are specifically made to process and run video AI on these platforms. The other option that we'll be able to support are NIO app platforms. These are, if you're familiar with this, we sell the NeoDin S, which is a smaller embedded box. Come out since it's been out like 2 years. Right. You can go and check to see if it's running the NIO app, and if you have access to the internet, we can upgrade those. Currently, if you have an older model, like for instance, what we call the NIO CC8s or the NIO hubs, those run a much smaller, lower powered processor, and that will not be able to support NIO 6.0. It just doesn't have the ability to do that. If you've got a VM that's running NIO app, it can support that. It just depends on sizing, how big your VM resources are.
Right.
And, I've listed here kind of like what the compatible format is. So
I can provide my own hardware.
Yes.
To put it on, depending on how many cameras my site uses.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we got a question. If you want to put it in, let's see. If you want to put it in the Q&A, we will try to answer that. If you can chat it in, we'll do that. Or maybe it went over to the chat here.
We've already seen that one.
Not seen that one, but yeah, go ahead, Vikas, go ahead and put it in. Which other chipsets are we talking about apart from the US made? So the NeoDin VAI-3, that's the low end, the smallest and also the least expensive platform that we provide. It uses an NVIDIA chipset that's made in China. So just keep that in mind, depending on what your requirements are for security, that may not be acceptable, which is why the Dash 5 and the Dash 10 come in versions that use US-made NVIDIA chipsets. So if that's a requirement, those are the options. Hopefully I answered that question on that one. The other option is that you can use your own hardware, and that's what we're talking about right here, is that if you have a server or another PC that meets these requirements, has a NVIDIA GPU, like the very low end is a NVIDIA RTX 2000, then you can install first you have to install a Linux OS layer, and then either Ubuntu or Debian, and then you can install the NIO app with 6.0 on top of that. Currently, right now, that means when you do that installation, you do have to have an internet connection because it pulls on some libraries that are hosted on the internet. In 6.1, we are developing a custom upgrader that is completely self-standalone, that for those customers who cannot connect to the internet, are able to then upgrade their systems. And this will support more of our legacy systems yet, but that's not going to be available for a few months.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions on the hardware before I move off of that?
I do like it that if I want to provide my own hardware, that
I should
can
say show it.
Oh, there's
right
the
here. Maybe I can show it to you.
So I put Linux on this. This is my machine, my OS. I can update it, whatever my security, whatever my IT requirements are. I can update it as frequently as I need to make it secure. And then running on that is the NIO app.
Correct. So and we did that for certain customers who want to maintain security and kind of patch levels themselves.
Right.
And so instead of providing an embedded system like this one, which is basically an appliance,
right,
in that sense, then yes, the NIO app can support being installed on your VM or your own server, where you maintain the OS layer, and NetworkedIO runs as an application in user space on top of that server.
And I choose my IP address. I choose the ports that I want open.
Yes, you have full control.
Great.
Yes, which makes it a little bit more complicated too. I mean, but that comes with what you're trying to do. This, on the other hand, so this is the NeoDin VAI 3 or -5. So in this, it's rated to 65 degrees C, and it has everything preloaded on it. So it's just a matter of hooking up at the default IP address like you normally do, setting up the settings, and you're up and going just like you are normally used to using a NIO that we provide. So
okay.
This
you
is
use a Chrome browser, go to
Mhm.
the default address, change it to whatever static IP address I want. Pretty much plug and play as it gets.
Exactly. All right. So let's go. Let's see. If we covered everything, we did our video tracking. So I kind of want to just summarize then kind of the main points, and then we'll go in and do a little bit more of the live demonstration as we look at a couple different things. Is that yes, it is the first, has the dual radar AI, video AI classification for false alarm reduction. We're releasing this month, and it fully integrated system, so you don't have to go to a different vendor to get the video AI piece, and then for us, for the radar piece, it's fully integrated and supplied together. Offered in a couple different options on the servers, on the embedded systems, or as an application that you install on your own server. The part for the licensing I'd like to address is that with NIO 6.0, we provide the option to do both subscription licensing as well as permanent licensing. So it just depends on what the customer needs are and how they do business. Is that way that you can upgrade an existing system. You can just say, oh, I only just want one camera feed. The cost is about $1,800 for a permanent license. And then depending on the subscription lengths, we can customize basically a reoccurring subscription. It could be a year, it could be every 3 years. We have the ability to make that fit whatever budget is necessary.
It doesn't require CapEx every year that way.
That's correct. So
right?
it just
That's
depends. It just depends on how the customers want to run it. It's camera agnostics. It runs with cameras, any camera that is supported by NetworkedIO, that we can get an MJPEG or an H.264 RTSP feed from. So there might be some camera out there that doesn't, but I'm not aware of any. The first version of NIO 6.0 includes in it a video AI model for ground targets. Now, it does also recognize drones, but it's not made for looking up in the sky for drones. In 6.1, we will be releasing an additional video AI model that is custom built for looking and classifying, between birds and drones, by for cameras that are primarily dedicated for that purpose.
Okay.
So there's kind of the highlights. So let's switch back over into the live system, and we'll do a little bit more exploring here. And do we have any questions? Do we have any questions from the audience? Anything that you'd like me to explore a little bit deeper? Think about it while I go in a little bit here. And in fact, let's go and John, maybe you can have send somebody out over to the park to walk into the alarm area, and we'll do a little live demonstration on that.
While that's happening, let me just pose a question. If I'm already own the NIO and some radars, and have like NIO 5.4, 5.5, what does it take for me to get NIO 6?
So if you're covered under warranty, then the firmware upgrade for NIO 6.0 is covered. You can ask the service department and say, yeah, like to upgrade my NIO 6.0. Now, if it's compatible, like you can check over here and under your gear symbol and help, you can see, okay, what my model number is. It needs to say NIO app. That's the key thing you have to look for to see if it's upgradable right now. If it says NIO app, then it's most likely we can do the upgrade.
Okay.
So that'd be one thing. Check to see if it's compatible. If it doesn't say NIO app, it says something else, then you won't be able to upgrade it until we have the custom upgrader, which won't be for a few more months.
Okay.
That'd be the first thing. Second thing is license points. Now, with the license points, and I'll drill into here, it's done by the camera feeds that you're going to be looking at. So you can see in here that when we enable, and we have different license points, and in the NetworkedIO 6.0, you will have to get a new license point file for every system because the format changed to be able to support both subscriptions as well as permanent licenses. And so you will need to get license points. Now, one of the things that we can do, because we have a subscription base, is that we can give a free license for 30 days. That way you can test it out, make sure it works for you.
Yeah.
Before having to purchase. So that's one thing. You can ask for a free 30 days trial license to do that. The other thing that you can do is that in NIO 6.0, there is the ability to turn on and off the video AI and be able to see how it classifies without using any license points. And that's what this right here, this disable test video AI, I can turn this off or on. And so if it's not tracking anything, it won't classify anything. But right now I've got my video AI enabled, so it is classifying. Okay, let me share my screen here. Okay. So I was given an example here, is that right here underneath the devices, and you can select your camera, there's ability to say enable test video AI. And if I turn that on, even if I don't have any license point, I can see how the video AI works. It doesn't assign it to the track. I can't filter on it. I can't alarm on it, but I can see the video AI.
Right.
So you can test out that way. And then you can get that, you can get a subscription license. And you can see over here as we go into our licensing here then we can say, okay, we'll give you a license file and give it to you for 30 days.
So it would show up here as expiring
In 30
right.
days. And then when it expires, it just stops that function. The video AI stops functioning.
Right.
Everything else will continue to work just as normal. All right, we just had an alarm here. So let's go take a look at it. We had somebody go to that space. So you can see here, we're able to detect them, track them through. You can see the guy over here on the side who was staying nicely off of the grass, didn't alarm, but our person that was walking through alarmed. So that's the power right there. The combined, radar and video AI is that the radar gives you the situational awareness, tells you where things are, cues the camera on target, and then uses the video to improve the identification, classification of the target.
Right.
I mean, that's it in a nutshell right
Yeah.
there. Okay. Maybe I've done such a good job of explaining anything, nobody has any questions, or maybe you've just been good at asking so many questions. So just a little bit more, since we've got a few more minutes, about kind of I'll go through a little bit of the setup of a camera. It's a little bit different for those that are familiar with NetworkedIO. This is the total setup. You select your camera manufacturers here, and you can see we have a whole bunch of them that we support. The make and model. You put in your IP information, then you go into kind of like if there's unique camera parameters. This is done right here. Then you set your GPS coordinates, the bearing. You go through a calibration stage, and there's our guy going across there again. And then all the calibration factors are now in one location: horizontal, vertical, zoom, and this is kind of the one area here that you have to change based off of what you're seeing in your environment is the video AI threshold. This is when it reaches above that threshold for the different target types, it will classify automatically. So if you're seeing that it's classifying things that shouldn't be classified as a person, say, you can increase that confidence level to 60%, and it will not classify that target until it reaches that point.
So
minimum.
if I have some cameras looking outside of my fence line and other cameras dedicated to looking at inside, then I can use this to
You can adjust it by camera,
optimize the performance of the video AI
on an individual by camera.
Okay.
Yes. You can also, and this is where when we have drone or what I should say is if we've got ones that are just, let's see here, man, I pull this up here. So this is where you have the ability to dedicate a camera for a particular type of target.
Okay.
And select the AI model that's associated with that. So if you're tracking, looking at air targets, you can look at, select the air model and combined model clicked on the run button. Back into that. So you can hear which model you want to use, whether it's a camera that's dedicated for air or a camera that's looking for ground. It is going to be somewhat different because when you're looking up in the air, what you're seeing is a lot different than when you're looking on the ground.
You're seeing the underside of objects rather than
Exactly.
top-down view.
Yeah, and you see a lot more sky and clouds and birds and things like that than you do reverse looking at the ground. So we've separated that into two different video AI models, and this is the air model, which is going to be released in a few months from now.
Okay.
Let's see other kind of unique things that you'd have to pay attention to for the video AI. I think I covered them all.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions?
Because it's asking a small one.
A small one of
Well,
what?
it was from whatever we were talking about a few minutes ago.
Okay, so we got.
Oh yeah. So yeah, can you leverage the zones?
Is saying, can we make a larger set of an area of interest for surveillance or alarm zone and can divide this into smaller zones?
Yeah, if I have a parking lot, but I
Mhm.
also have grass,
Yes.
and it's all,
Yeah.
I only have one camera to look at this whole area. I've got pedestrian pathways, maybe I've got a fence, maybe I've actually got outside of my perimeter, all in the same camera.
Agree. Yes. And I have an example just like that. Kind of this one right here, where I have this lawn area, this east lawn, and I'm only using, and I'm only looking for people in that area. So I'm not looking for vehicles. So I have one classification action that tags the track as possible, as for alarming, only if it's a person.
Right.
So I don't use vehicles here because vehicles don't come in here. So yes, I can do that, and I can just look for a particular target type. That's also another way to reduce false alarms. And then in the driveway area here, I'm looking and tagging both for vehicles as well as people. And then I use this vehicle alarm filter to look for that. So I'll show you my vehicle alarm filter. Here is this one. And you can see, okay, these are the parameters I'm using in the schedule, the placement, and I'm using a video AI class confidence level of 76%. So it has to see a vehicle in that area.
So one camera, yeah, so one camera, one radar system,
Mm-hmm.
you could set up with different zones in order to differentiate what types of filters you want to use for certain areas
Exactly.
in order to increase your probability of alarm on actual targets and also to decrease false alarm rates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, good. We got one answer there.
So one question, there's a lot to set up for new users. What kind of service can you talk about, and what do we offer to help get it up and going?
Yes, and that's our service team.
Yeah. So what we would do is we would work with you and with an integrator. The integrator would be the physical installation of this, and then also the devices would be, when they're on your location one at a time, they would be their IP addresses would be set to the static IP address that they control for their network. And so when all of the cameras, all of the radar and the NIO, when they're all on their system, then we would come out and we would commission the site so that the zones are set up, the cameras on the map, on the NIO map, are set up. They have the right bore site, the radars as well, that they are pitched and that they are set up correctly at the right height, so that as we test the system, we see that it's performing satisfactory, performing well.
Yeah.
And then
we call that optimizations.
Yeah, we would let it soak for a week or for 4 days, however busy that type of a site is.
Mm-hmm.
And then ideally we would remotely go back into their system with the customer or with the integrator, whoever it needs to be, And together we can review what the history, like you were showing us, so that we can see how it has performed and be able to make adjustments in order to fine tune it and optimize it.
So, there's, it's, one of the things that our team is really good at is kind of helping system integrators and customers go through that whole process, the design, survey, installation, commissioning, and the final process optimization. Obviously, there's lots of different things you can do, and to get your best performance out of a system, it's good to have someone who is trained and certified to know how to do that.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome if you go to spotterglobal.com/schedule-a-meeting, and in that, you can schedule a free consult with one of our field service engineers just by going there and say clicking on their schedule, and you can schedule a time to talk with them, and they're there, a free consult for the first hour, and that'll help you kind of get started if you have specifics here. If there's so don't hesitate to reach out and do that. Now, I see that we have another question from Hiran. If you want to put it in the chat or the Q&A, would be more than happy to answer that one. But again, if you're looking for help going through this process, or if you have more questions and you'd like to talk with someone about your particular site, then our field service engineers are standing by.
Any network topology advice, we can give you some overall advice on how you would want to have it set up. But I've got one at my house on my network.
On a Starlink.
On a Starlink.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it works, and I was able to set it up myself on my home network. And so if you are a smaller outfit, you can have this up and running. And if you're a larger outfit, you can have this up and running. So either way.
And we have people in the United States, Central and South America, as well as the UK. So thanks for posting that over there. There's the link there that you can click on and schedule a meeting right now, if you want to go in more in depth than that. All right. Well, we are just about out of time. And I'd like to thank everybody for attending. Hopefully you found this information enlightening, and we're excited to be out there to help you to prevent harm. That's the mission and purpose of our company, is to prevent harm towards warfighters and critical infrastructure across the world. And we're excited to finally see this get out there into the market, start solving problems, and there's a lot we can do together. And in the end, we'd like to see that your systems are operating at the utmost performance, and this is just the latest of what Spotter is bringing to solve those problems. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
And don't hesitate to reach out to us.